Beloved child, heaven bends toward your name tonight. The angels are not whispering. They are standing at your door. Something sacred is aligning under your roof right now. Watch the air. It trembles with assignment. Listen, the floorboards know your prayers. Your tears have been weighed. They are not wasted. There is a key turning in the unseen. There is a page flipping with your name in the margin. What carried you yesterday cannot carry you tomorrow. The midnight watches you, but grace watches the midnight. A fire walks without smoke through the corridors of your house. There is a seal loosening. There is a door remembering you. Beloved child, the wind has learned your footsteps. Your silence has been loud in heaven. Do not be afraid of this nearness. Do not be surprised by this boldness. The hour has hands. They are touching your shoulder. The threshold is warm. Step forward. The one who called you is already inside the room. I saw a river that remembered faces. Its surface was a mirror, but it moved like breath. Names drifted upon it like autumn leaves that did not drown. A gate rose from the water, not iron, not wood, but amber fire. Its hinges sang when the wind touched them. On each side of the gate, lamps burned with honey-colored light that did not consume their wicks. A child walked toward the gate with shoes that did not fit, and the river carried the child without wetness. As the child drew near, the gate did not open outward or inward. It opened upward, like a sunrise made of doors. I saw hands reach from the light, not to take Dot to welcome. Behind the amber, a garden breathed. The trees leaned as though remembering a friend. Birds flew without beating wings, carried by the intention of the air. Then the river spoke without a mouth. What you seek is not behind the gate. It is within the walk toward it. The child held a broken coin, snapped in half by years of forgetting. The light kissed the coin halves. They fused without seam. A song, thin and clear as a silver thread, stitched the child's shoulders with courage. Beloved child, I heard a voice say, "You are the gate, and I am the river, and together we are a rival." A hush fell that tasted like honey. The lamps bent their flames toward the child's forehead, and I knew that the seal of wandering had been lifted. The mirror river kept moving, but its reflection no longer accused. I asked, "What does the amber mean?" And the answer came like a soft hammer. Memory healed, time redeemed, lineage rethreaded. Then the garden breathed again, and the names on the river rose as birds. And the air made room for every promise spoken over you before your first breath. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. I looked and saw a storm approach that refused to darken. Its clouds were heavy, but they glowed from within, like coals wrapped in wool. Lightning lifted its finger and wrote words across the sky, but the words did not frighten, they clarified. Rain fell as small mirrors that showed not a face but a future. A cedar stood in the center of the valley, wounded by 1,000 small knives of winter. The storm circled the cedar like a lion walking slowly around a friend. Then the thunder remembered a melody and sang it low, like a buried bell. From the cloud bellies came nails of light not to pierce, but to mend. Each nail sank into old splits in the cedar's skin, and sap answered with gratitude. I saw scars loosen. I saw rings widen as if the tree remembered a forgotten springtime. The storm turned its body, and its back was gold. The gold did not glitter. It was deeper than glitter, like the color of old bread made from the first harvest. Birds that had fled winter came back before summer, drawn by heat that neither burned nor scalded. On the ground, puddles formed and did not muddy. A woman approached with a cloak of ash, her eyes like locked windows. She stretched her hands toward the cedar, and the rain mirrors fell through her fingers. In each mirror, she saw a small version of herself walking across a narrow bridge that did not wobble. "Can the storm be a blessing?" she asked. And the storm answered, "Though storms do not speak." Blessing is not always calm. Sometimes blessing is the voice that interrupts the lie. The woman dropped her ash cloak, and beneath it was a dress the color of dawn. She breathed once, and the breath came out visible, then returned to her as strength. Thunder cupped its hand against her back, and in that gentle shove, the valley gained a new path. A child laughed nearby. The laugh peeled the last winter leaf from a branch. I heard, not with ears, but with the bones of my chest, "Beloved, I do not remove storms. I instruct them," and the gold turned to light without a source, and everything it touched remembered how to begin again. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. I was carried upward, not by wings, but by a willingness. Above the noise, above the plans, above the arguments of shadows, a hall opened. It was not made of stone, nor of cloud. It was made of a hush that could be trusted. There were shelves without boards, and they held books that breathed. Each book had a pulse, like a small bird at rest. I saw a book bound in midnight, stitched with the thread of morning. When I touched it, the cover warmed and unfolded like a flower after rain. But the pages were not paper. They were moments, pressed and preserved. Each line of ink flickered like a constellation deciding to be a sentence. A scribe stood near, with a face like the first light on water. Not young, not old. Simply earlier than my questions. The scribe dipped a pen into a well that contained neither ink nor water, but something like starlight, waiting to be known. "What is this book?" I asked. The scribe smiled, as though laughter was just outside the door. "This is the accounts of what tried to stop you, and how it became your teacher. The pages turned themselves, and I saw your sorrow renamed. I saw betrayal bend its knee and become wisdom's doorkeeper. I saw delay melt into timing, precise and kind. The scribe wrote your name, not as a label, but as a calling. The letters stood on the page like ladders planted in good ground. Climb, said the scribe, for these ladders do not lead up or down, but into. I placed my hand upon the page. It felt like the shoulder of a friend. Where my hand rested, words rose like bread, feeding a hunger I could not describe until it was satisfied. The scribe nodded to a margin where notes were scribbled in a hand that looked like wind had learned to write. Whose notes are those? I asked. The scribe answered quietly, angels who took attendance at your prayers. The ink shimmered, forming small windows. In each window, I saw a night you nearly gave up, framed in mercy. I saw a day you laughed and did not know heaven laughed with you. I saw a moment you forgave a wound that the world said should not be forgiven, and the word justice bowed to the word mercy, not as a defeat, but as a coronation. Why am I allowed to see this? I whispered. Because you are being invited to agree, said the scribe. Agreement is the key that does not rust. I looked down and realized my shoes were made of old fear. They did not fit, and they squeaked when I tried to be brave. The scribe tapped the floor. From beneath the hush, a set of sandals rose, woven of promise and patience. Wear these, the scribe said. They make no sound, but every step will be heard. I slipped them, on silence, kissed the room. The book closed itself, not to hide, but to rest. Will I remember what I saw? I asked. You will not merely remember, said the scribe. You will become remembrance. The hall inhaled. The shelves leaned in, and with a kindness that felt like dawn settling on a windowsill. The scribe placed the book against my chest. It did not weigh me down. It made me buoyant. I descended without falling, carrying the hush as if it were a lantern. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. I walked into a desert where silence wore sandals. The sand was not empty, it was careful. Dunes leaned like old listeners, patient with travelers, who had not yet learned to be still. Stones dotted the path, each one warm with the memory of a foot. I bent to touch one, and it hummed a note that matched my pulse. There was a well nearby, sealed by a lid of fear, hammered flat by generational thunder. Beside it, a scorpion raised its tail, not to strike, but as if pointing toward the sun, asking a question. The sky held its breath. I spoke the name you were given before your parents chose their favorite version of it. The lid cracked, not with violence, but with relief. Water rose, as if it had been practicing. The scorpion approached the well, and did what I had not imagined. It placed its stinger into the crack, and the stinger became bread. Bread, warm and fragrant, as though an oven had been hiding beneath the sand for ages, waiting. A pilgrim arrived, his map burned at the corners by old mistakes. He took the bread, broke it, and the pieces did not shrink. He fed a circle of strangers, and in the feeding, they remembered they were not strangers. The water climbed the well's lip, fell as a small waterfall, and wrote on the sand with its wet finger, "You will not die of thirst in the place you feared the most." The desert wind exhaled. It smelled like rosemary and stories. A tent appeared, where no tent had been, stitched from patience, pegged by promise. I lay down in its shade and listened. The stones hummed together now, a choir, low and steady. I understood that the desert keeps minutes like a faithful secretary, and every minute spent in honesty becomes a spring. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. Beloved child, the night leans in again. The air is attentive. The unseen writes its name on the corners of your life. Listen as the visions unfold. They are a hush with eyes. They are a fire with gentleness. They are a door that recognizes your knocking. They are the wind remembering your steps. They are for you. They are now. They are true. Hold yourself steady in this light. The visions continue. Vision 6. The Clock of Feathers. I entered a room where time had taken off its shoes. The floor was a map of seasons, stitched with footprints that never faded. On the far wall, a clock hung, but its hands were feathers. White feathers, gray feathers. A single golden feather that quivered when anyone told the truth. The clock did not tick, it breathed. Every breath was a year learning to be kind. A dove nested where the hours should have been. A hawk watched from the minutes. Between them hung a strand of light, thin as a harp string and stronger than iron. I asked, "What hour is it?" The clock answered without sound. It is the hour when loss learns the secret shortcut back to meaning. A man entered bent by a decade that felt longer than 12 months. He touched the clock and pulled back, startled. Feathers drifted into his hands, each one holding a memory that had once wounded him, now softened until the shape of the lesson shone through. He pressed a gray feather to his chest. It dissolved and became breath he had not known he was missing. The hawk blinked and looked kinder than hawks are known to be. The dove lifted, circled once, and the room remembered spring. The golden feather trembled, and I knew the truth had come near. A child came after, eyes wide with the fear of being late to their own life. They reached for the 12. It bowed to them. Time bowed. Not as a surrender, but as a recognition. The wall opened like a curtain. Behind it was a meadow where clocks came to rest when they were tired of pretending to be masters. In the meadow, Angels collected old hours and turned them into seeds. They planted them in rows that did not need rain. The seeds sprouted into trees with fruit shaped like chances. Second chances. Third chances. The number did not run out. The man and the child stood beneath a tree whose branches formed a canopy the color of mercy. They picked a chance and ate it. It tasted like honey that had remembered a storm and survived it. The clock's face tilted, just slightly, and I heard the words, "Beloved, time is not your jailer. It is your servant when you agree with the one who writes the seasons." Feathers fell around us like quiet snow. None of them touched the ground without becoming a path. And we walked. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. I saw a city at dawn, every stairway made of glass. Not fragile glass, honest glass. You could see through each step to the story beneath it. People climbed, holding ordinary things, loaves, letters, small keys, photographs of faces they still loved. As they climbed, their reflections walked with them, slightly ahead, whispering, "This is who you are," when no lie is allowed. At the base of the tallest stair, a woman hesitated. Her shoes were made of apologies she had never been allowed to finish. She lifted one foot. The step glowed, not with fire, but with comprehension. The glass agreed to hold her. Each higher step remembered a promise she had kept when it was costly. The city's air hummed like a choir rehearsing its favorite song. Then I noticed. Beneath the stairs flowed rivers. Each river carried a different note. One sounded like justice without bitterness. One sounded like mercy without confusion. One sounded like courage that did not need an audience. The steps drank from the rivers. Climbers drank from the steps. No one was thirsty, though tears shone on every face like dew that had chosen to be seen. A boy in a red jacket carried a jar of stones labeled mistakes. He climbed until his arms trembled. At the 50th step, the jar cracked. Stones spilled, but they did not fall. They hung in the air, circling him like planets, waiting for their names. A hand appeared, not human, not inhuman, late faithful. It wrote new labels for the stones. Lesson, boundary, wisdom, keep, release, do not return. The boy laughed through his tears. His laugh became a ladder for someone below who had thought there were no more rungs. Far above, the stair ended at a plaza where glass turned to grass. There elders sat in chairs made of listening. They nodded to each climber as if to say, "We know the price of arrival. We recognize your currency." I asked the city, "What makes these stairs safe?" The city replied, "Truth beneath, water within, honor above." Then a sound like bells made of hope rolled across the rooftops. And the glass did not shatter, it sang. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. Winter laid a white hand upon a valley, but the valley was not asleep. Vines stretched in rows like patient sentences, waiting for a verb. Snow covered them gently, as a blanket covers a fever that has broken. I walked between the vines. My breath was a cloud that knew my name. At the end of the row stood a press, old wood, iron, bands. The marks of faithful work across generations. No grapes were visible. Still, a fragrance rose, deep and certain, as if summer had written a letter and winter had agreed to deliver it. A vintner appeared, ancient eyes, young smile. He held pruning shears that looked like they had heard 1,000 prayers and answered them by cutting precisely where life would flow better. "Is this not the wrong season?" I asked. He shook his head, amused by the way time tries to teach its maker. "Beloved, season is a servant," he said. "I have wine you do not yet see." He pressed the empty press. From the wood itself, a dark sweetness bled. I realized the press remembered harvests past, and kept them like a promise, stuffed into a pocket for a hungry day. He poured the memory into a cup that warmed my hands even before I touched it. I drank. It tasted like hope that had taken root under snow. Behind me, I heard singing. I turned. Children were running between the vines, leaving letters in the snow with their footprints. Their message, spelled, "Begin now." Then the sky performed a small kindness. Clouds parted just enough to let the pale face of a sun smile on the field. The snow did not melt, it listened. It agreed to be gentle until the roots were ready to reach. I asked, "And the pruning?" The vintner's eyes shone like honest steel. "Pruning is not punishment, it is partnership." He cut a vine. The vine bled a single drop of sap. It hit the snow and lit it like a small lamp. Everywhere he pruned, small lamps appeared, and the field became a galaxy that decided to live near the ground. Why lamps? I wondered. "So you do not mistake holy reduction for loss," he answered. Then he stepped aside, and the row opened like a book. On its pages, I saw your winters, and in every winter, a lamp. I saw your waiting, and in every waiting, a table being set. I saw loss leaning toward you to become room, so that what you asked for would have a place to rest when it arrived. I knew then that the snow was not the end of the story. It was the quiet that makes the song possible. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now listen as the vision continues. I stood where day gives its last coin to night and asks for change back. At that border, a loom waited. Threads stretched across it, some bright as laughter, some dark as starless hours. Some so thin I could barely see them until they caught a certain angle of kindness. The weaver's hands moved like rivers negotiating stones. Each motion knew where it was going before it began. "What cloth is this?" I asked. The weaver answered without looking up. "Coverings for those who have been cold too long, whose threads are these. Prayers you forgot, you prayed," the weaver said, "and promises that refused to quit when you did." I watched a thread I recognized. It was a midnight phone call you thought no one heard. It glowed faintly, then brightened as the shuttle passed. Beside it, a thread of silence from a hospital corridor, a silence heavy enough to teach gravity another name. The weaver lifted that weight and wove it into strength you would later call peace without knowing the recipe. A wind rose from a direction I did not know existed. It brought the smell of rain that had not yet happened. "Where is this garment going?" I asked. "To a door that has been knocked upon for years from both sides," the weaver said. The cloth grew thicker, softer, stronger. It looked like dawn had decided to be wearable. When the weaver finished, they folded the garment with reverence and set it upon a chair carved with the word, "Welcome." "Who will wear it?" I whispered, feeling the holiness gather like dew. The weaver looked at me, and through me, and beyond me, and then somehow back to me again. "Whoever says yes when the knocking begins," they replied. Then the loom stilled. Threads that had been taut relaxed, like shoulders, after forgiveness. The border between day and night forgot to be a battle and remembered to be a handshake. And I stood there, warmed by a garment I had not yet put on. Hold this word in your spirit. Say amen if you receive it. Now, listen as the message begins. Beloved child, hear this. The hour has found you. Not to accuse, dot to align. You have walked through storms that learned your name and did not devour you. You have carried jars, labeled mistakes up glass steps, and the labels are changing in your hands even now. You have thought time was a judge with a gavel, but it is a servant with a towel. You have believed silence was abandonment, but it was a womb holding a word until it could be born without dying. Now listen. Chains are not only iron. They are conclusions. They are sentences you ended too early. They are names you agreed to that do not fit you anymore. Tonight, chains fall as agreements break. Tonight, every iron syllable that kept you smaller than your assignment is melting like frost under a true sun. Do not confuse the sound of breaking with the sound of loss. Some breaks are the music of release. Some tears are rivers finding their old beds again. Heaven aligns where you say yes. Alignment is not pressure, it is permission. Permission to be exactly the size of your calling. Permission to speak without apologizing for sounding like yourself. Permission to look at fear and refuse to enroll. Beloved, you have an address in the unseen. Angels know it. They have been placing parcels at your door. Inside them are mercies that arrived in yesterday's packaging, so you would not be afraid to open them. Inside them are tools for rooms you are about to enter. Some rooms you outgrew and will revisit as a builder, not a beggar. Some rooms you feared and will now furnish with peace. Listen. Protection is not always the removal of danger. Sometimes protection is the skill to walk through it without being claimed by it. Sometimes protection is the detour that felt like delay until you saw what overturned on the road you avoided. You have asked for signs. You have received them and called them coincidence. Agreement turns coincidence into language. Say yes. Say yes when the wind lifts a feathered minute and lays it at your feet. Say yes when the snow refuses to melt because roots are drinking a slower, deeper drink. Say yes when glass stairs sing because your steps tell the truth. Destiny is not a lottery. It is a landscape you agree to cultivate. It is choices you repeat until they become you. It is the sound of your name when it stops apologizing for existing. Now hear this with your whole body. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not a spare part in a world that only orders exact numbers. You are a necessary sentence in a paragraph that would not make sense without you. Let the verdict fall. Innocent where you condemned yourself. Strong where you were told you were too much or not enough. Called where you felt forgotten. Blessed where you learned to expect the small and be grateful for crumbs. Raise your expectation. You are not a scavenger at the edges of grace. You are at the table. You are expected. Your chair has your name carved in the wood. Sit. Eat, let nourishment become your new normal. Break the fast of fear. Drink the cup of courage. Breathe like a person who has stopped bargaining with unkindness. Beloved, destiny reveals itself the way dawn reveals mountains. It does not move the mountain, it moves the darkness. As it lifts, you see contours you suspected, and valleys you will shepherd, and paths you will mark for others. The path is not a punishment. It is a promise in motion. Walk, do not sprint in panic. Do not freeze in dread. Walk. Every step makes a sound heaven understands. Your steps have a frequency. They call to assigned allies and wake sleeping gifts. They rattle doors that forgot they were doors and thought they were walls. When you meet resistance, ask it what it was sent to teach. When you meet delay, ask it where timing is waiting and how you can be found by it. When you meet impossibility, introduce it to the one who uses that word as raw material for miracles. Beloved child, I speak alignment over your mind. Let your thoughts be braided with truth. Let old slogans of failure unravel like bad rope. Let new sentences be written on the front door of your imagination. I am welcome here. I am safe with my own calling. I am not a threat to myself. I speak peace over your nervous system. Let your body learn a lighter recipe for living. Let rest be a teacher you trust. Let joy be a skill you practice until it becomes instinct. I speak courage to your voice. Let it find its steady pitch. Let it ring in rooms where silence once bullied you. Let it sing in hallways that echo with old arguments that no longer deserve your breath. Beloved, the chains of false agreement break now. Chains of always and never. Chains of too late and too soon. Chains of not enough and too much. Hear them hit the floor without a threat of return. See them become rails for a train carrying others to freedom. Nothing wasted, not even your bondage. Recycled into pathways. Now lift your head. Your help is not a rumor, it is a presence. It stands at your door like a friend who knows the code. It moves through your rooms, picking up what you dropped when you were afraid and handing it back like a gift you finally feel worthy to open. You are not alone. You are accompanied. You are witnessed. You are defended by goodness that knows your address. Pause. Breathe. Let this settle. Let the feathers of time rest on your shoulders like a mantle. Let the memory of winters become lamps along your next mile. Hold this word in your spirit. Type Amen if you receive it. Now listen as the message deepens. Beloved, activation is here. This is not hype. This is an invitation that refuses to expire. Step into the appointment you did not schedule and cannot miss. Angelic protection surrounds the threshold. Assignment stands on the porch, holding the briefcase you were born to carry. Inside are blueprints only your hands can unfold. Inside are letters addressed to neighbors you have not yet met. Inside is a key that fits your voice. Turn it, doors respond to names. When you speak, speak as if doors can hear, because they can. They know the timbre of authority borrowed from love. Call closed places by their future. Call barren fields by their harvest. Call tired hearts by the name awake. This is not pretending. This is partnering. Partner with possibility. Partner with mercy that makes rooms bright. Partner with wisdom that knows where to place the heavy and how to carry the fragile without breaking it. Beloved, forgive. Forgive quickly, not to excuse. To evacuate your heart of smoke so you can live inside a breathable atmosphere. Resentment is a tax you do not owe. Release the debtor and you will discover the key was in your hand the whole time. Honor your past without living there. Thank the pain for what it taught you, then ask it to leave your table. So hunger and fear stop sharing a plate. Open the windows of your decisions. Let fresh light in. Choose the path with peace in its bones. Choose courage without theatrics. Choose small obediences that stack into monuments of joy. I speak blessing over your thresholds. Every doorway you cross with honesty multiplies favor without asking permission from your critics. I speak blessing over your daily bread. Let provision come in usual and unusual ways. Let the mailbox and the memory both deliver what you need. Let creative solutions rise like birds migrating back to lands that have made room for their nests. I speak blessing over your relationships. Let good friends find you like rivers find the sea. Let conversations become gardens where trust grows without weeds. Let boundaries be walls with gates, not prisons without keys. Beloved, hear the call. Awakening is not a crowd event. It is a room event. It happens where you are. It happens when you look at your reflection and speak to it as you would speak to someone you love. It happens when you move your chair to the window and let morning touch your face, like a promise keeping itself. It happens when you forgive the day for not being perfect and thank it for being faithful. It happens when you decide to use your gifts without asking permission from shame. It happens when you bless the person you were yesterday and still choose to outgrow them. Now receive this promise. What opposed you will announce you. What tried to bury you will lift you as a platform. What silenced you will amplify you. What mocked you will miscalculate your resilience and accidentally become your marketing. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Its shape will be its limit. Its design will become its defeat. It will not fit the future you. You will outgrow what was built to contain you. You will walk past what once held you without needing to prove a point. Your life will be the proof. Beloved child, destiny reveals itself to the one who practices trust. Practice today. Practice when the glass stairs appear, and you see down through the steps to every old fall and choose to climb anyway. Practice when feathers of time float into your hands and you decide to plant them like seeds. Practice when snow remains but you smell grapes. Practice when the loom calls and you sit to let your prayers be threads. Practice when the city sings and you add your note without waiting for permission. You do not need to feel brave to be brave. You only need to agree with the next right courage. Say yes in small syllables until they gather into a shout. Say yes in whispers until they echo. Say yes with your eyes when your mouth is tired. Say yes with your hands when your mind is loud. Say yes with your feet. Keep walking. Pause again. Breathe again. Let peace cover you like the weaver's garment. Let joy light up the vineyard. Let time bow and serve. Hold this word in your spirit. Type Amen if you receive it. Now listen as we move toward declarations.